Good evening and welcome, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful evening. I'm Kathy Bickemer, one of the co-chairs of the Women's Leadership Council's Ladies' Night In, along with Jeanette Creighton and Tamlin Liesenfeld. This is our first virtual Ladies' Night In and the 7th year of our signature Ladies' Night event. I know we all wish we were out at an event tonight, but I'm confident next year there will be a traditional LNO, fingers crossed. For now, it's a virtual fundraising gathering for an organization we all love and count on, Lahey Hospital and Medical Center. For those of you who are new to this event, the Women's Leadership Council is an incredible group of women. Founded in 2004, we are successful businesswomen, community leaders, physicians and healthcare providers, homemakers, and decision makers. Each member is a loyal friend of Lahey, and all of us are committed to helping women advocate for their own healthcare and that of their families. And we've been busy, very busy. Since 2004, members of the WLC have contributed more than $5 million to Lahey. And with our 6 Ladies' Night Out events, we've added another $700,000 to that total. Of course, an event like this requires generous contributions to make it possible. Thank you to our sponsors. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Beth Israel Lahey Health, and a very special thank you to my favorite, Long's Jewelers, who's been a sponsor every year for the past 6 years. Thank you also to supporting sponsor JP Morgan and Pinkham Busney. I'd also like to thank several people who have played a critical role in making this event possible. All of our generous silent auction donors and members of the WLC who secured and contributed items. Thank you for your support, your time, and your effort. And I have a footnote here, little good news. The silent auction deadline has been extended. More on that in a little bit. I would also like to thank Women's Leadership Council co-chairs, Randy Conley and Kathy Huber. None of this would happen without their genius. They tirelessly lead the council in fulfilling our outreach and education efforts, and of course, our fundraising. I'd also like to say a special thanks to the mastermind behind our first and every Ladies' Night In or out, either one, the fabulous, energetic, can-do woman, Cindy Gruber. Before I turn to the evening's logistics, I'm grateful that Ann Ellen Hornage, legal superstar and chair of the Beth Israel Lahey Health Board of Trustees, and also one of the nicest people you ever want to meet, she has joined us this evening. Thank you for your leadership, Ann Ellen. And when I'm listing amazing women, there's one more, Lahey's own former board chair and WLC member, Anne Marie Conley, all terrific ladies. We are fortunate to have these leaders as well as founding members of WLC and many other VIPs with us. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Now for a few logistics. With the exception of our speakers, all of our virtual audience members are muted. However, please participate as often as you wish throughout the event through the chat feature. Now, we are here tonight to focus our fundraising efforts on Lahey's Greatest Needs Fund. Contributions to this fund enable Dr. David Longworth, president of Lahey Hospital and Medical Center, to invest in patient care, education, and research. Dr. Longworth has been able to use these flexible funds to respond to emerging needs. Tonight, we are also going to have an opportunity to share the many things we are grateful for. And with that in mind, it is now my great pleasure to introduce Lahey President, Dr. David Longworth. Now, David is a strong and fearless leader, and especially so over the last year. We are deeply fortunate to benefit from his leadership for Lahey and within our broader healthcare system. We are ever grateful he has joined us tonight to share some reflections. Welcome and thank you so much, David.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy, Jeanette, and Tamerlan. It's a real privilege to be with you tonight. I'm so sorry that we cannot be together in person, but I look forward to a year from now when hopefully that will be the case. I want to thank you for the generous introduction, and I want to thank the Women's Leadership Council for all that you have done and all that you do over time. I know that tonight you're here to help our cause and support it once again, as you have done for so many years in the past. And I want to thank and acknowledge you for all of that incredible support. I want to thank the leaders of tonight's event, the co-chairs Kathy Bickemer, Tamerlan Liesenfield, and Jeanette Creighton, who have made this night possible, as well as to our leadership co-chairs, Kathy Huber and Randy Conley, who lead the council in fulfilling our outreach and education projects, and of course, in leading our fundraising efforts on behalf of the medical center. We are deeply fortunate to have wonderful stewards of our hospital and friends such as you who serve and contribute to our patients, to our clinicians, and to the enterprise. On behalf of the organization, I want to thank you deeply from the bottom of our heart. This has been an incredible year this past year, one unlike any that I think many of us have lived through. An incredible year for our world, for our country, for our communities, for our health system, and certainly for Lahey Hospital and Medical Center. We faced a global pandemic unlike anything the world has seen in more than a century, and we have risen to the occasion as a healthcare community, as an organization. It's hard to imagine that over the case of 15 months, we have gone from recognition of a new viral pathogen to diagnosis, to treatment, to vaccine development and implementation. It's an event in healthcare unlike any other that I have lived through in my career. And we are deeply grateful for the support of so many, for our caregivers, for our friends like you, for the Women's Leadership Council, because you have enabled us to support our caregivers in tangible and important ways that have touched their lives. And without you, we would not have been able to do so. It's been an extraordinary journey, and one in which we have come together as a health system in ways that previously might not have happened. It's accelerated our movement to a system, and we, our caregivers, have excelled in that journey as day upon day they have cared for our patients profoundly and deeply. I've thought a lot about gratitude over the past 15 months. It's been, for me, a personal privilege to serve this organization and to serve our fellow caregivers on this extraordinary journey. And I want to thank each of you because we are profoundly grateful for all that you have done and continue to do for this organization. So tonight, in addition to raising support for the Greatest Needs Fund, we are going to share with you a story of gratitude from one of our patients whose lives were touched through the course of this pandemic over the past year. I have to say, one of the unexpected privileges of the work that I've been gifted to do this past year has been to hear remarkable stories from patients, from caregivers, stories of courage, empathy, and gratitude. Nearly a day doesn't go by that I receive an email or a personal note from a patient or from a fellow caregiver calling out examples of our frontline caregivers and the work they do. That for me has been profoundly humbling and a privilege. And I think that it's important that you get some sense of how the work that you have supported has touched individual lives through the course of this pandemic. So we're going to move on and share with you a personal story of how you've touched people's lives. And we are grateful for all you've done. And with that, I look forward to your reaction to the video that we're about to share with you. So thank you all.
Dear Jamie, a few months ago, I had the honor and privilege of being able to meet several members from the Lahey Hospital and Medical Center ICU care team who took care of me during my COVID-19 stay. I told the group that even though I didn't remember them because I was asleep for the majority of our time together, they represented all of the nameless healthcare workers who risked their own lives in the battle against COVID-19. As we approach the 1-year anniversary of my own horrific ordeal, I am starting to reflect on my experience. While I do not remember many names, I remember the kind faces of so many who lovingly cared for me, knowing how terribly isolated I felt as the outside world was shut down. I will never forget you handing me the phone so I could speak with my sister, who had the unfortunate burden of telling me that while I was in a coma, I had lost my beloved husband, my incredible father-in-law, a dear friend, and my job. It pains me to think of how many times you were put in that position over the past year, and my heart breaks for you and all you endured. Your selfless service and devotion to your calling as a nurse was not lost on me. I am eternally grateful for your kindness in that moment. Truly, I will never forget that bond that we shared. Jamie, I pray for you and all of the healthcare workers around the world who, at the risk of your own personal safety, have held the lives and hands of strangers like me in your loving care. I wish you good health, happiness, and peace of mind. In an unthinkable time in our history, you are a true hero. With eternal gratitude and love, Karen. I remember that when I first walked in the room, it was probably the first day that she was coherent and kind of was more aware of what was going on. And she kept asking me where her family was and where everyone else was. And I said I had to explain to her that the world had changed while she was asleep, and there was a pandemic, and no one was allowed in the hospital. And I've thought about her this whole time too, and I've prayed for her that she would heal emotionally and physically.
I want to give a really warm, heartfelt thank you to everyone at Lahey ICU in Burlington who were with me for the weeks, the month that I was in the coma and beyond. I could not have gotten through this without your incredible care. Even though I can't remember all of the names and faces of everyone who took care of me because I was so out of it for so long, what I do remember is just the collective energy of all of you, putting me and so many other patients before yourselves. And I am so grateful for that. I can't even imagine the hardship and the loss that you witnessed this year and how you had to go home every night with that burden. And please know that for families like mine and for people like me, we could not have gotten through it without you. You are the reason that we pulled through this, and I'm living proof that your hard work paid off.
I think that you set the bar for other hospitals to follow, because I can't imagine her being anywhere else but at Lahey, because you were extraordinary to all of the doctors, to the PAs. Jason, you know who you are. and Dan, you were extraordinary. And Jamie, who held her hand. And there are so many of you. Thank you so very much from the bottom of our hearts. When we couldn't be there, you were there serving in dual roles. And we're just full of gratitude for everything that you did every day. Thank you for bringing our KK back to us. We don't know where we'd be without her. We are so filled with gratitude for all that you did. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tamerlyn Liesenfeld, one of the Ladies Night In co-chairs of the Women's Leadership Council. I just want to stop for a minute and say that video was absolutely amazing, and that it reminds us of what we've all been through this past year and how we all need to come together to really accomplish things. Dr. Longworth, thank you for your gracious remarks and moving video. Having been involved with Lahey and the Women's Leadership Council for some time, I absolutely appreciate and respect the care that we provide. That amazing patient story highlights the quality and commitment of our caregivers in serving our patients and community. Now it is our turn to support our hospital, Lahey Medical Center, and in doing so, support the care provided by these very colleagues who make a difference in patient outcomes every day. Tonight, our fundraising proceeds will support the Greatest Needs Fund at Lahey. During the height of the pandemic, flexible funds helped Lahey meet patient needs, from bolstering our telehealth capability to reconfiguring space to ensure caregivers could give care to the neediest patients. In addition, Dr. Longworth directed support from the Greatest Needs Fund to support colleagues recovering from the fatigue and stress endured over the past year via our colleague wellness program. Flexibility has always been important, but never more than in this last year. And this year, as we see the light at the end of the tunnel and plan for our future, Greatest Needs indeed supports Lahey, and most importantly, our patients' greatest needs, both pre and post-pandemic. We chose this focus because we want to support our leaders in the same way that they have supported us in our community in the pandemic. With that, I'd like to launch our Fund a Need effort. And let me just stop for a second to tell you how it works. There are 2 ways to virtually participate. You should see the chat button and a reaction button at the bottom of your screen. You can use the reaction button to raise your hand or to give a Fund a Need some love and a heart. You can let us know that you are supporting tonight's effort by indicating in the chat function. You will also see a link so you can donate directly online. You can make a difference right now with tonight's Fund a Need. So let's start at the top. And I guess I'll start it at the top. I personally am going to donate $5,000 to Fund a Need. And I ask who will join me in that effort at the $5,000 level. Please light up our chat room, join us. Randy, thank you so much. We appreciate your $5,000 pledge. Anyone else joining us? Randy and I need someone else to come in here with us at $5,000. Cindy Gruber, thank you so much for your $5,000 pledge. Anyone else joining? Cindy, Randy, and myself. We'd love to see you join us if you can. We appreciate it so much. Lahey appreciates it so much. Oh my gosh, Katie and John Erickson, $10,000 donation to our fund. Thank you so much. Okay, well, while you still have time to join us at that level, I'm going to ask, can you join us at 2,500? Please think about it. This fund really supports the needs that are needed today, given what we've just been through this past year. Your funds really make a difference. Okay, I see some people coming in. Anyone else joining us? Okay, well, we'll go down to our $1,000 level. Please consider donating $1,000 to our Greatest Needs Fund. We really, truly appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to move on to $500 level. Can anyone join us at the $500 level? Okay, thank you, Julia. $1,000, we truly, truly appreciate that. Thank you, Mary Reynolds, $1,000 donation. This is great. Anyone else joining us? Stephanie Parker, thank you for your $500 donation. $250. Can anyone do $250 to make a difference for our Fund a Need effort? Anna Ellen, thank you so much for your $1,000. I'm sorry. Oh, Christine Lappin, thank you for your $500 donation. Anna Ellen, that Hornich, that was $1,000. Thank you so much. Well, I'll ask everybody, whatever level of donation you can make, please put it in our chat now. We appreciate every dollar that we raise. Uta, $250. Thank you so much. Maria Perry, Kelsey Lawrence, we appreciate all of your donations. Andrea Stewart, thank you, $500. We are doing great here. Please don't stop. This is really exciting, folks, and really, really appreciate it. Who else do we have out there? Pamela DaCosta, thank you. Nancy, thank you, $250. Marianne Sullivan, $1,000. Thank you so much. Okay, well, please continue to type into our chat room. Please consider donating to this very important fund. I think what I'm going to say is thank you to everyone. You're all amazing donors. Your gifts do great things for grateful patients and their families. And now I'm just going to conclude our fund in need. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce a fellow WLC member and person I like to think as a triple threat. She's a WLC member, a former Lahey leader where she enjoyed a 30-year career, including serving as Chief Medical Officer of Behavioral Services at Lahey Health System, and is currently a Beth Israel Lahey Health Board member. Dr. Marianne Anna Sullivan is also a board-certified physician of psychiatry and neurology, and I can think of no better person to take us through gratitude and offer us a toast for the evening. Please be sure to have your drink of choice, perhaps our signature drink, light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tamlin. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Tamlin, for taking us through Fund a Need, and that will stay open. It's indeed a pleasure to see everybody tonight. So I'm Mariana Sullivan. As Tamlin said, Lahey is near and dear to me, having spent 32 years, my entire career here. And I'm so happy to have been able to stay involved with Lahey through the Women's Leadership Council, as well as now the BI Lahey Board of Trustees. But I'm speaking now as a psychiatrist and a student of the stress response. And I want to take a couple of minutes to recognize the year we've been through and to offer some thoughts on navigating a path forward post-pandemic. We all know about fight or flight, how our adrenaline surges in our system. All animals have that too. There's a great book that I love called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's because zebras have an on-off stress response. They're either eaten by the bear, in which case they're dead, or they go on to live happily and munch on the savannah. We have a stress response that can stay elevated. And if there's ever a time that our stress response is staying elevated, it's in a time like this prolonged pandemic. And when those stress hormones stay turned on, it's not good for our systems, body or mind, can be damaged if we don't learn how to turn those flames down. So what are the answers? We all know a lot of them, whether or not we do them, that's the hard part, but exercise, sleep, good diet, meditation. But recent research shows that one of the most important factors is social connection. And folks probably get ill at the rate of the same rate as if they're smoking a half pack of cigarettes a day if they're socially isolated. So we know connection is important. We know friends are important. But recent research has shown us that one of the ways to stay socially connected is to exercise our gratitude muscle. It actually can retrain our brains and our stress centers to focus on the joy in life instead of the stressors. Gratitude can even remind us of how special and beautiful and blessed we are, even when we're faced with overwhelmingly challenging situations. Like we heard from that grateful patient who told us that she was in a coma, lost her husband, lost her father-in-law, and she's back telling us how grateful she is for the nurses and doctors who cared for her here. So practicing gratitude actually makes us more optimistic and promotes happiness. There are many ways to exercise that gratitude muscle. Some people have tried a practice of writing down 3 things that we're grateful for every night, which seems to have a great effect on physicians and nurses and burnout. Another is to write a note of thanks to somebody from our present or past lives that we know we owe a word of thanks to, and actually writing it down. I right now would like to express my immense gratitude to the doctors and nurses of Lahey Health, who have worked tirelessly over this past year to keep us all safe. And I could cite 500 examples, but one that particularly stuck out for me was Dr. Adam Lipworth, who's chair of our dermatology department, and Dr. Beth Collins, who we on the Women's Leadership Council all know and love, our recently retired chair of palliative care. And Adam and Beth got together and formed a cadre of physicians who didn't have enough to do during those really awful months when the outpatient clinics were kind of running at very reduced capacity. And they banded together to figure out how to offer their services to families of patients in our ICUs so that they could become mediators and liaisons. And when our hospitalists were completely overwhelmed taking care of all of these sick patients, this cadre of outpatient folks took charge and connected the families that couldn't come in to see their loved ones who were so sick, and the families that couldn't connect with them, and became that glue. Again, one of a million stories we could tell. So next, I would like to toast the nurses and doctors of Lahey Health, as well as our Women's Leadership Council and everybody tonight on the call. Offer up the light at the end of the tunnel toast to all of us. Cheers. And with that, I have the good fortune of leading us through a different and I hope fun portion of our evening, and I want to turn the tables. Our organizers, through the magic of modern technology, are going to place us in small groups. And I'd like each of us to take a few moments and think about and share what we're grateful for. Each room will be hosted by a WLC member. And I would like us all to think about sharing gratitude and wishes post-pandemic. For example, introduce yourself. How are you connected to Lahey? What are you grateful for? What are your silver linings? What things will you change coming out of the pandemic? And what things might you actually want to carry forward? And finally, be thinking of 3 words that just pop to mind when you think about gratitude, and that'll come around later. And there are some silver linings that I think we can think about. Things that we amazingly might actually miss when this is all over and we climb out. And I'll just share one of mine, which is reading by FaceTime every evening with my 6-year-old granddaughter. And we have laughed and cried together every night over this past year. And the tears were when Charlotte died in Charlotte's Web. And I think I will shed a tear if we can't keep up our ritual. So I want to invite all of us to join in this dialogue. All of us participating today are grateful for Lahey, but our expressions of gratitude can extend beyond our gratitude for healthcare and include the silver linings that we know are there if we think hard enough about them. So I want to thank you very much for sharing this evening with all of us. It's been really fun thus far, and I'm looking forward to our breakout rooms. And at that, I will turn it over to our tech team.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jeanette Creighton, one of the co-chairs of the WLC. Wasn't that just terrific? I hope everyone had wonderful discussions in the breakout rooms and had an opportunity to share your gratitude. I, for one, know that I'm grateful for the discussion my group just had, and also to call Mary Anna Sullivan, my fellow WLC member, a friend. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to all of our generous silent auction donors and members of the WLC who secured donations. We are grateful for your support, time, and effort. Now, it's not too late to bid. The silent auction has been extended till tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So far, we've raised about $8,000, and we have a ways to go to meet our goal of $50,000 for this event, but the fund in need that we just have seen so far this evening is getting us there very quickly. So thank you in all ways that you were supporting Lahey. Winners of the items will receive an email with instructions on how to collect their prize. Thank you for giving from your heart. Your support of the Greatest Needs Fund is the Women's Leadership's top priority this year. And it will help us strategically invest in priorities that advance Lahey as a leader in healthcare. Really, we are all winners tonight. On behalf of my fellow co-chairs, the Women's Leadership Council, and myself, thanks to David and Mary Anna. And a big thank you to all of you who took time out to be with us tonight. We are so grateful. Thank you again to the presenting sponsor, Beth Israel Lahey Health, and a very special thank you to Long's Jewelers, who has been a sponsor every year for the past 6 years, and I've tried to partake every year. We are so grateful for all the continued support and the amazing jewelry. Thank you to our supporting sponsors, JP Morgan and Pinkham Busney. And again, thank you so much for a great evening and have a good night. Thank you again.